My name is T. Little, and I'm with the State of Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation for the Drinking Water Program. And I am a environmental program specialist, and I am the compliance and enforcement officer for the Talkeetna water system. And I've been asked today to come in and talk about two things with drinking water. One is properly collecting a sample, and the other is properly disinfecting a well. So my office is in Wasilla, and our office is open 8 to 5. And if anytime you have any questions about that, I left my business card on the back table, and I've left these two pamphlets for you. And I have 6 people in our program, and any one of us can help you with that. Disinfecting the well until the water recedes away from your well, it's not going to do any good to do that disinfection, which we call a shock chlorination. But certainly after the water recedes, then you can go ahead and mix a brine, and this pamphlet talks about that brine of regular household bleach and water that you would put down your well casing. The pamphlet says let it sit for 2 hours. We actually recommend that you do this shock chlorination overnight, so it has 6 to 8 hours to sit. Once you put this brine down the well casing, you'll go inside and outside, open all the faucets that until you can smell that chlorine coming, and then shut it down. If you have a water softener or a filter, make sure you bypass the water softener and remove the filter from the filter housing, and you'll have to replace that filter once the shock chlorination is finished. You let that sit in the pipes to eat up all the bacteria, if there is any, for 6 to 8 hours, and then you come back and you open all the faucets and you flush the line until you can no longer smell that chlorine. And then after that has happened, then you take your sample to ensure that that has worked and there's no total coliform or E. coli. And again, the pamphlets are on the back. When you get the bottle, the sample bottle, it will also have directions for you. But the pamphlet does say the 2 hours. We do at the DEC recommend 6 to 8 hours letting it sit. You had a question in the back? For sampling purposes, make sure that you have a proper bottle, and I believe that the borough will have bottles available for you to take to collect your samples. Okay, so there will be bottles available. The bottles have a preservative in it, so make sure that you follow the directions that come with the bottle. It's really important that you make sure that you don't contaminate the sample. So you'll do a disinfection of the sample location that you're going to take the sample from. Usually those Clorox wipes are really good. Take a sample from a faucet that does not have a swivel head faucet, like your kitchen faucet, how it moves. Don't use that. Typically use a bathroom with a stationary faucet, because those faucets can harbor bacteria, and you might get a false positive for total coliform or E. coli, because that's what you'd be monitoring for with the total coliform sample. Sometimes the bathroom faucets have an aerator screen. You'll want to remove the screens. Take that Clorox wipe, or you can just use plain household Clorox on a rag. Wipe the outside of the faucet, wipe the inside of the faucet, and let the water run for a few minutes until you can no longer smell that chlorine. Then go ahead and open the bottle. Make sure you keep the bottle lid facing downward. Don't cough on it, don't drop it, because that could also cause a false positive. Collect your sample till it reaches the line on the bottle, then bring it back and put the lid right back on it and put it in the plastic bag. Make sure you wash your hands too before you take the sample. And then there'll be someone in the borough that will be collecting those samples from you. if you have your own well and you're not on the city water, we're recommending that you boil the water until we can verify that there is no coliforms or no E. coli's in the Talkeetna water system itself. And that will be done by monitoring. Yeah, and I would just say, you know, let the water recede at least 50 feet away from your wellhead, you know, so there's no standing water next to, you know, within 50 feet of your wellhead, and then go ahead and if the water has come up around the well casing itself, the recommendation would be to do that shock chlorination and then take that coliform sample. Because of the heavy rains that we've had, there are instances where you could be in a high area, but you could still have a flooding issue. We've had that in Wasilla actually happen, where homes are high up on a bluff and not near any water bodies, but because the permeable layer down below the clay layers, the water wasn't able to saturate all the way down, and then it filled up that space. Could be 10 feet, it could be 30 feet, and there was flooding happening because the ground was so saturated and there was no place for the water to go. In that case, if there's a well and a septic on that property and they believe that, you know, they've had flooding in the home even though they weren't near a water body, certainly, you know, take those precautions, boil your water until the water levels go down, do the shock chlorination, take the sample. It's not really going to do you a whole lot of good to take the sample before you do a shock chlorination, because you're going to spend money on that sample, which could come back positive. If you do the shock chlorination first and then take the sample, your chances are better to get a better reading to see if there was, you know, if there still is any bacteria after the shock chlorination.
Speaker Lori Moffitt is going to explain to you a little bit about how the water process testing is going to take place.
So, like T talked earlier about shocking your well, so why don't you, how many people here are on private wells right now? Okay, so we'll have plenty of test kits ordered up. What we'll do is these have to, after you shock your wells, why don't you go ahead, if the groundwater's down Sunday, go ahead and chlorinate your well, like it says in the script, and then we'll give you these bottles and the instruction sheet. There's a large one printed up right there on the wall behind the lady in the orange vest there. There you go, that's it. Have a small copy here, and you'll just fill out the bold, and there's a number on the bottle that you'll set on here. It's assigned to this. This is your chain of custody. It needs to accompany the bottle. So I want to make sure these two are together. They're expensive kits. You want to make sure you follow them to a T so that we don't void them. And everything that T had talked about in collecting the sample is we have pictures and instructions here. So it's a really simple thing to follow. I need to make sure we follow it meticulously or we'll void a $50 sample. The borough has provided the test kits to you free of charge. They're picking up the tab on this one. And then the lab will call you all directly with a positive pass-fail reading. A negative takes up to 10 days, so no news is good news. If you are getting a little antsy on that 9th day and you can't wait till the 10th day, the lab has said go ahead and give them a call, they understand.